Hello, chess family. It's me, National Master Jesse James, and today we are going over one of my most exciting games in the Hyper Accelerated Dragon. And as you can see here, this is a critical position, meaning, well, if you play the right move here, you're going to get into a good position. If you play a wrong move here, you're going to get into a bad position. So here I'm playing against a very strong FIDE Master over here. And, well, like every great game or story, we got to start from the beginning. So let's get to it. Here we go. We started with e4, c5. The Sicilian, knight f3, pawn to g6. This is the hyper-accelerated dragon. We're getting ready to fianchetto our bishop and put it on the long diagonal, our dragon bishop, as I like to say. And here white plays the main line, d4. We know we're in for a game here. By playing d4, we're going to open up the position, and this is going to create crazy situations. C takes on d4, knight takes on d4, and later on I'm going to go over queen takes d4, which is a very fun variation I get to play against many masters, including I got a game with this against Nakamura, so I'll definitely go over that later on. But anyways, like I said, in this game we get the standard knight takes d4 variation. And here we go, bishop g7 attacks the knight. Knight to c3, we got to develop our pieces. Knight c6, putting pressure on the knight. Bishop e3, developing and defending. You want to keep the knight in the center. I've seen a lot of beginners make the simple mistake of moving the knight backwards. Not recommended. Remember, knights are best placed in the center here, so this is not the accurate move. Bishop e3, developing and defending. I like that. Here, black played knight f6, or I played knight f6 here, getting ready to castle. Bishop c4, and this is definitely one of the best places for the bishop. A lot of times whenever I do play people in this one, at least people that are not studied, they make the mistake of playing something like, I don't know, we'll say like bishop to d3, and this will allow black to play d5 later on and get a better position, if not equal. So in this game, white played the right move, bishop c4. This is going to stop d5 over here. And I castled, and here white went bishop b3. Again, this is all very good and safe moves here. One of the reasons why they play bishop b3 here is because if they don't, and let's just say they make the mistake of, let's say, castling, here black already is going to be in a better position. What do you play here as black to get a good position? Here you get to use the old standard trick, knight takes on e4. And, well, if knight takes back, you get to play pawn d5, and the reason why black is slightly better in this position is because, well, some beginners will play bishop takes d5, which is even better because now we get the bishop pair. But even worse than that, they just have to lose the piece. But I have the only pawn in the center now, and white does not. So, well, white is just going to be slightly worse in this position. But here, of course, my opponent knows the threats, and he plays bishop back to b3. I play pawn a5. This is a really cool idea. And the idea is just to play pawn to a4. And either way that they take back, it leaves the e4 pawn unprotected. My opponent knows this stuff and goes ahead and plays pawn to a4, stopping that idea. Pawn to d6. The computer doesn't like this so much. It's recommending over here knight to g4, which is also another good way to play. But I like to play classical, and so I play pawn to d6. A very simple idea. I'm going to bring out my bishop over here. And I'm not too sure yet where it's going to go to. Most likely it'll go to d7, though. And here my opponent went ahead and played pawn f3, and now we know we are in for a game. We're not playing computers, we're playing against humans, and my opponent has said a very aggressive idea here. Do you know what his plan is with the idea of f3? Here we get a very standard kingside attacking idea with pawn to g4, pawn to h4, and pawn to h5. So I'm already sensing some aggressive tension here. If he does castle kingside after going pawn f3, these games are great for me because, well, they're not pushing too hard here, and typically you can create good counterplay on the queen side. So this I'm not too worried about. So I just played standard here. I played bishop to d7, and here my opponent went ahead and played queen to d2. Here come the fireworks. My opponent is definitely saying, hey, we're going to be playing sort of a variation of the Yugoslav attack, except we have a few extra moves in here, which is one of the most aggressive ways to play against the dragon setup. And they're going to castle queenside and then do full send. You know, they're just going to push their pawns up. The game is going to get crazy over here. Well, let's go ahead and get ready for it. I'm going to go ahead and keep developing my pieces. I played rook to c8. Makes sense, the rook on the open c file. There's a lot of ideas with this move. Even rook takes c3 ideas. I love to sacrifice the exchange, especially if I can get double pawns on the c file. A very common idea when you play this variation. So here, castles happens, and here I go for a standard maneuver. A lot of people will run out of ideas at this point, but here we're still in theory. Knight to e5. And the idea here is to play knight c4. Either you're going to be able to win the dark square bishop, but typically they'll go ahead and trade here because the knight on c4 is just too strong. And here it becomes a race. White's going to be pushing their pawns this way. I'm going to be going ahead on the attack on the queen side over here. It's just anybody's game at this point. Although I will say white does tend to win more games than not whenever they do play this. Here my opponent did play a very interesting move, and this is something I've been noticing a lot more recently, is that they actually try to play more positional, meaning they're not trying to checkmate you right away. Don't get me wrong, he does have some aggressive tendencies, but white does have more space. And so he played this interesting idea of knight to b5. And what does this threaten? Not too much, to be honest, but it's up to me to go ahead and find something constructive or a good plan here. So I go ahead and continue with my idea. Knight over to c4. Again, like I said, if they do not take this guy over here, he's going to be a very big powerhouse. There's knight takes b2 ideas. As you can see, I'm already forking over here. I mean, this bishop right here is very important for white because white typically wants to trade off for my bishop. And my bishop in this game is typically worth about, I'd say about 5 or 6 points. Not only is it one of the best defenders, it's also a very good attacker. So here, it's just like a King's Indian defense bishop. It's worth a little bit more than usual. So, of course, white went ahead and played it. Bishop takes on c4, the best move. Rook takes on c4. And here, pawn to b3. Like I said, white is very defensive in this game. They're hoping just to go ahead and positionally bind me or just, strangle me nice and slow here. So I have to play aggressive and, well, come up with some good ideas. Here I came up with rook to c6. The idea is pretty simple here. I'm not going to go too crazy too fast, but I'm going to try to develop my queen, maybe put the bishop on a better square, and if I can, double up my rooks. Okay, here we go. White played bishop to d4. A little threat here. They might be looking at ideas about pawn e5, or if I ever move this knight, well, they can just trade bishops. Okay, let's keep moving forward here. I went ahead and played bishop e6. The bishop is not doing too much on this diagonal, so maybe we'll place it over here. Also, I was looking for a good square for my queen to move to, so it made sense to me. Now I can maybe put the queen to d7 here. All right, king to b1 got played. This is a very good decision. As Grishuk said, one of the, a very strong and aggressive player. He plays this on all the time. We know when you castle queenside, especially in Sicilians, you need to play king b1. And he says, why? You just gotta, it's one of those things that if you don't do, you could definitely regret it later. So here I continue with my development. Queen over to d7. Pawn to h4. White finally is done with their positional setup, and they're ready to start the attack over here with h4 to h5. They're going to try to pry open or open up the h-file so that they can try and checkmate me. Okay, well, here's a very nice defensive idea. Hopefully you know an idea here. What do you play here as black to, well, stop this h4, h5 idea? Feel free to push pause if you want to. If not, here the idea is actually to play pawn to h5, which seems like a really weird move. And the reason why it seems weird is because the saying is, wherever you're weak at, aka the king side for me, you should not make any pawn moves because this is going to help them out for attacking. But after looking at this, the next pawn break for white over here is g4. But take a look at this. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces actually attacking on g4. So they could play g4. They just have to know that they're going to lose a pawn to do this. And here, white went ahead and played rook he1. They're just, again, playing this positional game, and I'm pretty sure this time they were preparing to play pawn to e5. Here I played rook f to c8, and here my opponent played a little fast here and played knight to a7. This is actually the featured position. It is now black to move. What is my best idea here? As you can see, the computer did not like this, and I did find, well, the first of the 2 good moves I'm supposed to play here. All right, if you haven't already, go ahead and give us that like and subscribe. Remember, liking is going to share this with more people. Okay, what do you play here? Here we get to play the amazing rook takes on c3. I mean, I'm going to lose the exchange anyways, and my idea was, well, I might as well try to get a good piece out of it. This knight is a little bit out of the way over here anyways. And, of course, if they take on c8, well, I just play rook takes back, and I'm actually got 2 pieces for 1 and a better position here. So, of course, they don't want to take on c8 here. Instead, they just played the only move they really can play. Don't want to take with the queen, as you'll just lose it. Here, you go ahead and play bishop takes on c3. And here, I did not play the best move. Can you find the move that I missed? Black to move. What do you play here? All right, hopefully push pause to try to figure it out. Here, I got a little too aggressive, and I went ahead and played rook takes on c3 here. And, well, I will say that this is around an evenish move. It's just not the best. Here, I was supposed to play knight takes on e4. If you got this, congratulations. It's a double attack on the queen and the bishop. But remember, I said this bishop is so important. And you can see after computer's giving rook takes c4 is the best move. I get to play either bishop takes or rook takes here. And the position is equal. Although I do prefer black in this position just because it's very nice and aggressive here. Yeah, rook takes c3 is the top move here to be played. And yeah, you can see the dark squares are very weak. If you can imagine my queen getting over to a3, it'll be pretty much game over, as the dark squares around the king on the queen side is just bad. You know, this is what I was saying earlier. This bishop is worth quite a few points, not just a regular 3, but I'd say about 5 or 6. Well, like I said, I did miss this, and I did a double rook sacrifice, which the computer says is okay. They went ahead and played queen takes, of course, and I played knight takes on e4, semi-idea, and this is about even position. But here my opponent, I guess, feeling the tension of this position, or maybe just wanted to play for a win, went ahead and played queen takes on g7. I was very surprised here. Yeah, this is something I would say a human would definitely do. And believe it or not, this does not give black that big of advantage. It's only at negative 0.5, meaning only half a pawn advantage here. There was something better to do here. But as I said before, in this position right here, if white plays anything else, let's just say queen takes on a5, I can pretty much force a draw, if not just a winning position. So I guess I'm not too surprised. Like I said, my opponent's a little bit higher rated than me. They're at 2578, and so I'm not too surprised that they wanted to go ahead and just sacrifice. For instance, after this, knight c3 check gets played, and if they move the king anywhere around here on a1 or b2, I get to take the rook and check, and that's just going to be winning, right? Because it's a double check with the bishop also attacking, so I'll just be up an extra piece. The only move that they can really try to play here is king to c1, and after that, I just have a forced draw here with knight to a2 check. They have to go back to b1 here. Why can't they go to d2? Hopefully you can see why. I win the queen. I get to play bishop to c3 check, forking. And again, I won't say that this is just a forced win, but you know, what they just played, they might as well play it anyways, right? They have to sacrifice the queen here anyways. So in the game, it's almost about what would have happened anyways. Knight takes, queen takes, king takes, rook takes on e4. Black does have a small little advantage, but at this point, we have to transfer my aggressive tendency to a positional game, meaning it's back to strategy, just pure strategy here, because there's going to be no forced win here. Don't get me wrong, if I had a dark square bishop, then I would feel very confident saying that I can attack and probably just win. But here, we have to play nice and solid. Now, what is the best plan here for black? The best plan here for black is definitely to go after these kingside pawns. The queen side is going to be very hard to win. White's actually going for a queenside play. If they can win a pawn or two, they can start pushing over here. So my plan is to try to win the queenside pawns and then the kingside pawns, and then maybe if I can, maybe push the center. I just have to be very careful. You know, 2 rooks will typically beat a queen pretty easily, and this knight here, if it finds a good square, it's definitely going to be good. And unfortunately for my bishop right now, I guess the best square it's going to have is f5. You just have to be very careful. If the knight trades off for the bishop, as you'll see later on in the game, it could be very much a problem for me, because the 2 rooks will definitely outplay this queen. So here we go. Now back to the positional game. Bishop to f5 got played. The rook went to c4. And yeah, this is bad because of my next move. This allows me to penetrate the position. Now I can understand rook c4 here. White wants to get the rook into the game themselves, but they allowed me to get my queen into the game and attack these pawns right away. Here I played queen to e6. c2 is a weakness, and now I'm going to start attacking these pawns. Remember, all I got to do is win one, and then I could try to start pushing my pawns forward here. This is pretty much the only good way to win. Knight to b5 got played, and here comes my queen, queen to e2. You can now see the tension, and the rooks are a bit uncoordinated here. Rook over to c1, over protecting on c2. If you don't see why you shouldn't take a pawn, then you should take it. Here we go, queen takes on g2. Knight to d4. Again, like I said, I don't want to lose this bishop. If I do, it could definitely be a bit hard to play against these rooks. And after looking at the position for quite a while, I saw that there's only one square to move to. Bishop to h3. Is it a good square? No, but it's the only good one I can see here. I'd like to play e5, and I'm going to do that soon, but I don't want to lose this bishop. This bishop is going to help me create chances, which actually helped me win the game later on. So bishop h3 got played. Rook to c7, forking the pawns. And here I get to play pawn to e5, right on tempo. Knight b5, attacking d6 and b7. Here you have to ask yourself, which pawn is more important? Hopefully it didn't take you too long to say. D5. Of course, this guy's moving forward here. Now, this is going to create winning chances, but losing this pawn is going to give them winning chances. But I felt very good about my prospects here as far as these pawns moving forward pretty fast. Knight D6 got played. Simple chess. They're attacking the F7 pawn. Again, like I said, I don't want to lose or let them create counterplay. Bishop to E6, defending and also looking toward that queen side. Knight takes on B7. D4. Knight C5, again attacking my bishop. That's okay. How did you know I want to move him? Bishop to F5, again putting pressure on C2. I want to snack on this pawn as soon as possible. Knight to E4 here, and here I went ahead and I played the best move here. Computer agrees. Queen takes on F3. Now, this is good because it's going to help put pressure on the knight, but also it's helping get pawns across the board. But this does allow White a nice tactical resource. Do you see it? White did not play this in the game, but they could have played rook takes on F7 check here. And after king to G8, knight G5 gets played. And, well, White is actually losing here because of a tactic by Black. Now, I won't say the move here, but just know later on at the end, this tactic is winning. So, after that variation, here White went ahead and played, because they didn't play rook takes on F7, they went ahead and played knight to D6. And here, well, I did find a very nice idea. It's Black to move, and after this move, well, White is going to resign. Last question for you. Black to move. What do you do in this position? All right, hopefully you push pause and try to figure it out. Here we get to play the very nice move of queen takes on B3, and this is just winning right away. Why? Notice the pawn cannot take here because of the bishop pin. And, well, we have two unprotected pieces here, so we're going to be able to win at least one of them. And here, well, I would say probably king A1 would get played, and here a simple move is going to be queen to A3 check. If you really want to be mean, you can be playing queen takes A4 check first, and after king B1, or even king over to B2. You can force the same kind of ideas to get played. King B2, queen B4 check, and then take. And I even have an extra pawn over here. So, guys, hope you enjoyed this. Remember, this was a very fun idea about playing the Accelerated Dragon. Just remember, if you do play this, make sure that you realize the strength of your bishop, because the dark squares over here. Always be looking for sacrifices. Remember, if it's opposite side castling, try to push your pawns forward or create counterplay as soon as possible. All right, guys, we'll see you in the next game.